Papa, Ogbanje began softly. What do you know about my stepmother, your wife Adaku? Ogbanje asked her father. They had earlier gone to the farm that sunny morning, had cleared some weeds from the farm and was resting when Ogbanje suddenly brought the topic. What do you mean, Ada? I don't understand. Biko, make me understand. How did you meet her? Where did you see her and what do you know about her? Ogbanje all asked at once. Okoro sighed as he looked at his daughter, who was just so inquisitive. It is a long story, Ada, Okoro finally said. Then we have the whole day to ourselves, Papa. I am all ears. Okoro looked past beyond Ogbanje and stared off space. He sighed. You see, Ada, you are the only one who has asked me this question of all my children. Okoro began as Ogbanje nodded her head in confirmation. It all started 21 years ago when I was betrothed to Adaku. Wait, oh Papa, both of you were betrothed? Then where do my mother come in? What happened? Ogbanje, very shocked to the bone, asked. One question at a time, Ada. Adaku and I were betrothed by our parents when we were just little. We grow up to acknowledge each other as spouses. Well, all was moving fine for us until I met your mother. It was like I was seeing the sun for the first time. Okoro stopped a brief remembering about Chidinma, his late wife. And so what happened, Papa? Ogbanje asked. Well, I told my parents about it, but they didn't agree with me. I also told Adaku about my new change of feelings, but she remained adamant that I marry her instead of your mother. Okoro said. So how were you able to convince your parents in getting married to my mother? After much threats to my parents about ending my life, they decided to cut off our engagement and pleaded with Adaku's parents, who were quick to understand to their own understanding, love should prevail all. Okoro stopped. And so what happened after that? Ogbanje asked, prompting Okoro to continue. Nothing happened. A week to your mother and I traditional marriage, Adaku parents died mysteriously one early morning. They were burnt alive, their huts. Everything about them razed down to ashes. No one knew how the fire had started, Okoro said. What about Adaku? Where was she when the fire started? She had gone to fetch water from the stream. I had to shift my traditional marriage to bury her parents. After all, they were once my in-laws to be. 2 days after their burial, Chindinma parents and mine were all mysteriously drowned to death, and their body wasn't seen again. What made the 4 matured people to leave their comfort homes to go to the stream to bath is just mysterious, I must admit. Something had pushed them to go to the stream and drown themselves. So what happened after that? Did you find out the cause of their untimely death? Ogbanje asked. No, all the native doctor we visited during that time all have the same message. The gods are silent. Well, I got married to my heartthrob finally. We moved out of Out Village to Udum and settled down here. And since then, I haven't set my eyes on Adaku when I eventually got married to your mother until the day after your mother burial. Old feelings resurfaced again and I got married to her, Okoro finished saying. Now you gotten your answers, Okoro added. But this is strange. How come you never asked her where she was all those years, or was she not married? No, she wasn't. She told me she was patiently waiting for me and I believed her. Ogbanje nodded her head slowly and thought. What is this I heard that you went to the land of the mortals? In search of what? Nyokuji asked Ikenga when he went to his abode. And who told you that? Ikenga asked. Whoever that told me is none of your business. All I need to know is why you choose to go to the mortal world when you did no wrong. Who have you been seeing? Nyokuji asked. It is none of your business, little brother. Don't provoke me. Ikenga spat out in anger towards Nyokuji, who wasn't moved. Neither was he scared of Ikenga's anger. Oh, I shouldn't provoke you, right? Well, we shall see who is more provoked when I tell Amadioha that you are after his wife, Nyokuji said. You have forgotten something so soon, brother. Amadioha had been long forgotten, Ikenga said in mockery. And he won't dare to step his foot in here ever again, Ikenga quickly added. Oh really? Then go and ask father who visited him today, Nyokuji said, leaving Ikenga's presence with his head held up in pride. So, does it mean I can't have O.G.B.A.N.J.E all to myself? O.G.B.A.N.J.E asked no one in particular. He was sitting at the frontage of his hut when all the things the Dibias have told him came floating in his head. What am I going to do now to have O.G.B.A.N.J.E all to myself? I must get her and make her my wife by all cost. Obinwana told himself by hitting his palm on his chest. A plan began drafting in his head. He knows what to do. He will plan with his boys to kidnap Ogbanje and bring her to him. After that, he would rape her. He will surely rape her, so she would see who had raped her and make sure his seeds will be planted inside her. When her father comes to confront him, then and there he would tell Okoro that he would gladly marry Ogbanje unless Okoro wants a bastard as his grandchild. He smiled. He was sure the plan will work out perfectly. "You have to give back Alaolisa memories back to her, my queen," Amadioha said. "Why do you say so, Amadioha?" the queen mother of Ogbanje Kingdom asked. "I fear the days ahead would be so tough for her, my queen. My immediate younger brother Ikenga has shown his interest on my Alaolisa. Without her memories back, I won't keep on in hiding our true identity from her. Please restore Alaolisa old memories," Amadioha pleaded with the queen mother. "I must make sure Ogbanje dies before the next Ika market day. I don't care if she's been guarded by anyone or not. She must die." "Who wants to die, Adaku?" "I only heard she must die. So who wants to die?" Ogbanje asked, pretending to hear only the last words she had uttered. "An irrelevant question you dare to ask me. You want to prove to me how strong you are, Ogbanje. But I tell you that I am the wall that will bring you down to where you truly belong," Adaku said. "Oh, is that so, Adaku? The one who says and they obey. I don't have any time for you or for your witches. I'm simply unstoppable," Ogbanje told Adaku. "We shall see, Ogbanje, who wins this battle," Adaku whispered to herself. "Father, I was told by Njoku-ji that Amadioha was here." Ikenga asked Olisa Chukwu. Bowing down in his presence, the bright light overshadowed the whole place. "Yes, he was here." "For what, father?" "How can you ask me such a question, Ikenga? Your brother Amadioha wants to return home. But you know he nearly wiped out your creation in the first place, father." "Yeah, but that was in the past, Ikenga. I would not hold that against him. Stepping his feet here, father, means war. I am the god of war, father, you created like that. I am the god of war, Ikenga. And you have forgotten so soon that Amadioha is not your match. With only his mere gaze, you would forget you are the god of war." "Listen and listen to me very carefully," Obinwane began with a warning, held the left side of his ear to show how serious he was. "You must not fail in kidnapping Ogbanje and bring her to me. You must carry out the plan tonight," Obinwane said as he stared at the 4 huge men in front of him. "Take this," he added as he gave each of them a necklace. They all wore it. "On no account should you remove this necklace when you kidnap the girl. She is not someone who you can easily kidnap." "Papa, it's been long you've told us your story," Uzochi started as she and her twin sister with Ogbanje had just had their dinner of hot egusi soup with pounded yam. Adaku had long gone to bed. "Yes, Papa. It has been long you told us story. Or are you out of stories, Papa?" Ugochi said in support of her twin sister. Okoro shook his head sideways. "Not at all, my beautiful daughters. Then tell us a beautiful story. You know that I used to tell my friends your stories that they have nicknamed me Uzo the Storyteller," Uzochi said, smiling. "Ada, you have been quiet since. I hope you are following our discussion," Okoro asked Ogbanje when he noticed the faraway look on her face. "Papa, I have been following all your discussions, so can you please tell us a wonderful story?" "Well, a long time ago," Okoro began as he cleared out his throat. Uzochi and Ugochi were so eager to hear the latest story their father was about to tell. Ogbanje wasn't paying attention to it. Her mind was on something. "There was once a girl named Ifeoma. She and her brother were responsible for keeping the monkeys from raiding the family bean fields. One day, after they have been faithfully keeping the monkeys away, they both became very thirsty. They turned their backs on the fields and went to a pool to take a drink of water. When they returned to the fields, the monkeys had eaten all the beans. Ifeoma was so scared of the wrath of her parents that she got herself drowned. Her brother rushed home with the terrible news of her suicide. Her parents were so shocked and grieved on hearing the terrible news that they forgot about the bean field. Ifeoma sank to the bottom of the pool until she entered the land of the dead. She first came to a house where an old woman lived with her children. The old woman identified herself as Ifeoma's guide in the land of the dead. For many years, Ifeoma lived with the old woman and helped with the chores. After a time, Ifeoma became very homesick and began to think of her parents and brother. The old woman was able to read the girl's heart, and she knew that Ifeoma wished to rejoin the living. So one day the old woman asked Ifeoma if she preferred the hot or the cold. Ifeoma didn't understand, and the woman repeated the question. Finally, Ifeoma answered that she preferred the cold, not knowing what this meant. The old woman had Ifeoma dip her hands into a clay jar of cold water, and when she pulled her hands out, they were covered with jewels. She put her feet and legs into the jar, pulled them out, and they too were covered with jewels. Smiling, the old woman dressed Ifeoma in the finest robes and sent her home. The old woman also had the gift of prophecy, and told Ifeoma that she would soon marry the finest man in the world, a man named O.G.B.A.N.J.E. When Ifeoma arrived home in her fine robes and jewels, her family was overjoyed. They had given her up for dead long before. They marveled at her fine clothing and their newfound wealth. Word spread quickly through the countryside that there was a rich, eligible young woman in the territory, and Ifeoma's home was visited by hundreds of suitors. Ifeoma ignored all of the men, including the most handsome of them all, except for a man named O.G.B.A.N.J.E. He suffered from a terrible skin disease that made him look ugly, but having been to the land of the dead, Ifeoma was able to read the hearts of men and knew that O.G.B.A.N.J.E was the best of all the men. O.G.B.A.N.J.E and Ifeoma were married with great feasting, and after their wedding night, when the marriage was consummated, O.G.B.A.N.J.E's skin disease disappeared, showing his face to be the most handsome of all. As Ifeoma had plenty of fine jewels to spare, they bought a herd of cattle. Soon, Ifeoma and O.G.B.A.N.J.E were the wealthiest people in the land. One might expect that they would now live in happiness, but the many suitors of Ifeoma were envious of O.G.B.A.N.J.E. All their friends and neighbors changed, resenting the wealthy young couple. The hostility grew more bitter with each day, until a group of neighbors attacked Ifeoma's husband and killed him. But Ifeoma had been dead before, and knew the secrets of the underworld, including how to revive the dead. She took her husband's body inside their home and recited magic incantations that she had learned from the old woman in the land of the dead. O.G.B.A.N.J.E revived stronger than ever. When their enemies returned to share the wealth, O.G.B.A.N.J.E slew them all. Ifeoma and O.G.B.A.N.J.E lived in prosperity and happiness for the rest of their lives, and since both had died, they met their final ends without fear. Okoro finished telling his story. "Wow, Papa, you deserve an award for being the best storyteller in this village." Uzochi spoke first. "Our neighboring village should come and listen to your wonderful stories, Papa." Ugochi said after her twin. "Ada, Ogini, what is it? Or don't you have any contribution to make?" Okoro asked Ogbanje when he saw Ogbanje wasn't following their conversation. "Nothing, Papa. I was following the story of Ifeoma and O.G.B.A.N.J.E," Ogbanje answered. "Don't mind her, Papa. She is always thinking of Ebuka," Ugochi retorted quickly. "Speaking of Ebuka, be careful of that young man. You know his mother was a witch before she was caught. Try as much as possible to dispatch yourself of any relationship you are having with that young man." Okoro said in a serious note. "Papa, you just told us of the story Ifeoma, how she decided to use the inner beauty rather than the outward appearance. Ebuka is different from his mother. They are two different people, mother and son. Besides, I am in love with Ebuka," Ogbanje said as she stood up from the raffle mat laid across the frontage of hut, which she and her sisters had occupied, having Okoro sitting on a wooden stool. "Good night, Papa," Ogbanje added as she quickly left their presence. Before the cock crows, Ogbanje had already woken up and did all her house chores. She had this feeling that something dangerous was about to happen. But what could that be was the question left unanswered. On her way to fetch water from the stream, she felt 4 eyes watching her from their hidden places. She stopped and looked around her carefully. She was sure she felt 4 eyes watching her. "Whoever you are, wherever you are, show yourself if you have the guts or remain hidden like a coward," Ogbanje said, daring whosoever that was in the bush. The 4 men all came out of their hiding at once as they all surrounded Ogbanje in a circle way, staring at them without a trace of fear. "Who are you and what do you want from me?" Ogbanje asked. "You don't ask us question, you are coming with us," one of them said, presumably their leader.